your peers. And the courts were established under the Constitution with the duties and authority to certify and affirm judgments, but it never said a judge could make a judgment. And it didn't give them any right to make rules and regulations in the wee hours of the night in odd places without telling you or informing you about these rules, how they're going to affect you, how they're going to obstruct your way to justice, how they're going to deny you free access to the courts, how they're going to make you stand there and threaten you if you open your mouth to exercise your free speech in defense of your rights of property. And they have to get permission to try you without a jury. You don't have to demand a jury trial. The Constitution requires it. They're supposed to say to you, do you want to waive your right to jury trial? No, they won't do that. Everything's summary process. What is summary process? We're going to decide without a jury whether you're guilty or not to be expedient. To be expedient? That's a denial of due process of law. That's an unfair trial. And any rule they made is invalid and unlawful, especially if they never promulgated it or explained it to you and said, look, we're going to make a law to deny you the right to jury trial. These people have been basically committing sedition, perjury, lying against you, telling you they're running for public office, telling you how the sky is falling, ozone, how they're going to protect your neighbor's children, and make laws to take your children, make laws to take your house, make laws to take your liberty. Pretty soon you won't be able to laugh. They got laws that said you can't feel as though you don't like anybody. They'll define that as hate. If they find out in your mind you're thinking of not liking somebody because you don't like them,
it's a hate crime.
If the guy has body odor or the woman stinks or something like that and you don't want to associate with them, they're going to ram her down your throat or ram him down your throat. Before you know it, they'll put you both in jail. After they put you in jail for holding your nose because the person stinks next to you, don't know how to take a bath, or maybe they haven't been able to afford to buy soap because welfare won't supply it anymore unless they work at McDonald's. And maybe they're living in the street because they can't afford a house, because they're making sure they tear everybody's property down, taking their homes, transferring it to private individuals. And everybody's making money but the people. They created misery, unrest, so that they can tell you, see? Told you, the sky is falling. The guy says, oh, that was a wheel from an airplane. That was no sky falling. Shut up, it was the sky was falling. Now, I'm going to tell you something. It's about time you woke up to the truth. What you perceive to be the truth is not the well-dressed, articulated, safe talk about saving the children from abortion or doing this. Those are red herring issues. Come on. These are personal things that people have a right to do whatever they want to do. If they make laws contrary, there's a question of whether the laws were lawfully made anyway. 99% of our laws are unlawful. They were designed to subtly, inadvertently, justify enslaving you, branding you, criminalizing you, making you an underclass, classifying you as someone that will not pass their test unless you're one of their children. And if you're one of their children, you commit murder. Tony Blair from Ireland addressed the Bar Association of America. He was very polite. He said where the law was, the common law, the Magna Carta, where it came from, and where American law came from. And he was talking to American Bar Association of America that has more lawyers, more liars than any country in the world. And he said to them, you got to do something about the delay in access to justice. The obstruction, the delay to justice. We got to do something about it. And the excessive cost. There's more delay in America to justice and more excessive cost to justice in America than anywhere in the world. Our judicial system is the stink that people are saying is coming from polluted Boston Harbor or Denmark or the Big Dig, with all the methane gas coming up and billions of dollars being spent. Well, they're robbing your public treasury so that they can force your children to pay for hole in Boston. All right? Now, remember Tony Blair? Delay. You've got to do something about the delay of action. 50 years you can go to court. That's how bad it is, all right? And never get to a jury. They can obstruct it with their rules, regulations, manipulation. And if you got a lot of money and you hire a lawyer, he'll have your home, your estate, and everything else before he gets through sending you the bill. They are judicial gangsters. They're licensed to steal because they made laws that sanctified their right to steal. Their bar of board overseers are their brothers. Justice delayed. Remember this? You might have heard it someplace. Is justice denied. Justice that only O.J. can pay for is justice denied. Do you want me to tell you something? There isn't anybody in this country in prison right now. If they had any brains, couldn't get out by writing a writ of habeas corpus, a motion for new trial, based on the fact that the judiciary was constitutionally imbalanced, privatized, that the judge was not impartial, that the trial was not fair, because 90% of them were forced to plea bargain. And it's a big business, prisons today. 100% occupancy. And the Marriott hotels and everybody else are going into the business. Because they got a bunch of people in there. Now, of course, if they beat them, whip them, electrocute them, and aggravate them and put them in there and don't listen to them, these people are going to try to kill themselves or kill other people. The people around them or the guards or somebody. Especially if they feel they were treated unfair and put there with a lack of consideration that they made a human mistake. And if they whipped them, beat them, and everything else and put them there, then of course they can put them out in a camp and say they're going to rehabilitate them. What if you whip a dog, Pavlovian type of conditioning, with cruel and unusual punishment? You'll get him to confess to killing his mother even though he didn't do it. They're not rehabilitating anybody. They're conditioning people to bend to the whip. Those mavericks were deviants. Everybody is different. Those people rebelled in some way. Those people committed a crime because they felt for some reason they had to be deviant. They were handicapped, disadvantaged. They didn't know what to do. They were junkies. They needed money. They were desperate. It was Christmas time. The kids didn't have anything. Took a chance. They walked to the back, stick them up. They got caught. 2 policemen were behind them.
We got a phone call, Bill. Let's take the call. Hello.
It's me again. I'm here every week with you guys. Hey, what you're talking about is people are so scared they're in jail right now, right?
Right.
They can't afford to get out of jail because, like you said, partial and unfair trials and stuff because they made their decisions and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a perfect person. I'm not the greatest person in the world, but there's people in jail that are so scared right now they can't even get out because they're not saying you can't file a motion to get out of jail and stuff like that and prove yourself right because they ain't going to listen to you.
That's because they can say that anything that anybody writes in defense of the right to property.
I'm talking about a good person and a bad person.
I'm talking about what you're saying.
Mistakes, they're going to stay in jail.
All right,
they deserve that.
You just made a statement. Do you want me to explain it to you?
Yep. I do.
All right. The courts will turn down certiorari's.
I can't afford a lawyer like $1,000 a week, you know?
You want me to say it?
Yeah.
Do you know what certiorari is?
Yeah.
All right. You know what a writ of mandamus is?
Yeah.
You know what a habeas corpus is?
Not really. What's that?
It means if anybody, for any question, was treated unfair and is in jail under the color of law and they shouldn't be there, if they can prove that they didn't have a fair trial or something, they can get released. They're being held there illegally because they were convicted illegally, and they can file. They can file for new trial.
Yeah,
but the people you're talking about.
No, most people don't know this though.
Well, you don't know it either because just listen and you'll hear it.
I ain't in jail.
You understand what I'm saying? You called up, and you alluded to something.
I asked you a question.
You asked me a question, and the answer. To
your money. I probably don't have the money you have to get out of jail.
It's got nothing to do with money. It's got nothing to do with money. It's got to do with.
You just don't want to. You don't want to understand what you're trying to say.
What you want to know is the people that are in jail that should be able to get out don't need any money. All they have to do is write a writ of habeas corpus stating...
No, they can't do that.
Well, I mean...
Because of what he said. What he said is what you don't know and what he's trying to say. That's what you believe, and that's what should be the law. And what he's saying is when they write a writ of habeas corpus and they are illegally in jail and they're looking for a new trial, the courts have decided that they're not going to allow them because they don't. They're getting bombarded with people in jail who don't want to go over the wall and get shot.
Right.
They just want to go through the door and get a fair trial.
Right.
Now, what he's saying is that when they're filing these motions, they're throwing them in the wastebasket.
Right, they don't want to hear
There's no recourse. All right, now you got the answer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and you got the answer. You believe something, and you don't understand why they're throwing in the wastebasket because you weren't listening to me when I said they lied.
How many people died?
They lied to you.
How many people died?
They lied to
Nobody
you.
listened.
They're illegally doing everything. They're pretending.
I understand that, but how many people died in this country for somebody to realize they didn't even listen to you? No matter what you're saying, they don't even care. They didn't even listen to the guy.
That's their problem. They will die, and they will be enslaved, and their children will be enslaved, and that's their problem, and that's your problem. And if you get killed, and you put in jail, and you're talking the way you're talking, you're never going to get over the wall. Unless you take time.
Ask you a question.
Unless you take time.
I'm just thinking about people that are in jail right now that they won't even listen to.
Well,
like I know a couple of friends of mine.
Are you blind? Are you blind?
Yeah, I'm blind.
Person? Are you deaf, dumb, and blind?
No, blind.
Because undoubtedly you're comfortable the way you're, and with the misery you have.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
All right, there is a way of doing it. You don't know how to do it. You don't know how to do it, and we're telling you how to do it, but you don't want to listen.
All right, where are you guys at as of this week right now? You guys are going to court.
We're talking to you, wasting our time, and people are getting confused.
I don't know. I don't see too many people paying attention to you. I talk to a lot of people right now, and I don't see too many people paying attention to you.
If you didn't pay attention to the teacher, if you didn't pay attention to your mistakes,
I'm hearing people
then you're making the same mistakes over and over.
The air.
What's that?
People are striking motions to get you people off the air.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that nice?
You ever hear that show Womankind? They got her off the air. You're next.
See, you like to call up, don't you?
Yes, I do. I like watching your show, but I'll tell you what. You can hang up on me all you want.
Now,
Well,
you see, every time you call up, I'm going to hang up on you. Because you just revealed that you were basically only interested in clouding the message that the people were trying to give. That you are playing a devil's advocate. That your child's psychology and your inadequacy and your inferiority to be superior has made you politically correct, so you think you're being condescending to the mayor and the establishment. Well, let me say something to you. When this thing is resolved, and it's going to be resolved, it's in the Supreme, you want to know where it's at? It's in the Supreme Court. You know, Chief Justice Abrams, I know her when she was a practicing assistant district attorney in Middlesex County. And she was there because of Foster Ferkler. And Foster Ferkler was a former governor, and he was a prosecuting attorney in Middlesex County even after he was governor. Now I'm going to tell you something. It's in that Supreme Court, and that Supreme Court is now on the line. And this country's on the line because there is a rule by law that is being imposed by a League of Nations under international law that's requiring that justice be respected. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I told you about Tony Blair speaking to the Bar Association. He was warning them. You've been manipulating the court and bouncing these people around, putting them on a merry-go-round, taking their money. And in doing so, you diminished people's respect for the courts and justice and the rule of law. And things are getting very, very, very uncomfortable for judges, lawyers, policemen, and governments. Because the governments have lost the people's confidence. And there's a concern for the safety of governments. And there's a bunch of people that are incensed and prone to violence. And we're going to try to avoid that. So we're going to have some discipline. We're going to have to stop the delay of justice, which is justice denied. We're going to have to stop this business of pretending we're giving the poor equal justice when we're not. You see, now that's what's going to happen. Now, I'm not here to entertain you or anybody else, and I don't care what you want to do with promoting your continued misery. But if you're going to give your children your understanding of the kind of ethics and behavior that you projected here, I feel sorry for your children.